Saludos amigos, soy Valdemar Rodríguez, el Manager of Community Partnerships, el gerente de asociaciones comunitarias. Bienvenidos, welcome. Welcome to all our friends from Facebook and YouTube to what I'm sure is going to be a signature program here at the Alley Theaters, El Zócalo, Cuentos y Charlas. Nuevamente les doy la bienvenida. Everybody out there in our virtual world, thank you so much for joining us. We have a wonderful, wonderful presentation, panel discussion that we're going to engage with our community and obviously be creative and just have a really wonderful, wonderful, wonderful end to your week. But before we get started, I want you to help me welcome mi amigo, mi compadre, my host, my co-host, Tony Diaz. Let me tell you, Tony Diaz is a writer, he's an activist, he's a professor. Tony Diaz, le decimos el libro traficante. He was one of the first to earn, one of the first Chicanos to earn a Master of Fine Arts degree from the University of Houston. And he'll tell you a little bit more about him. So help me welcome Mr. Tony Diaz. Compadre, ¿cómo estás?
Hermano? What a great way to kick off a weekend.
I'm telling you, Papa. You know what? First of all, I want to tell all our friends out there that yo ya tengo mis vacunas, él tiene sus vacunas, so you know what? We can bite ourselves y no nos vamos a dar.
Exactamente.
No nos vamos a enfermar.
Exactamente. Everyone out there, get your vaccination as soon as you can, of course.
So, amigo, why do you think we're here? Why do you think we are here this evening with our friends?
We're here to celebrate arte and cultura. And we're going to be talking about a really powerful play, El CHUCO Town Forever, which is very short, but very profound. Actually, our panel is longer than the play because there's so many layers. But this is exactly what we've been striving for. Our culture on our terms. It tackles a very heavy subject, but in a way that only art can tackle, but we're the experts. Somos nuestra la comunidad que afecta. So it's muy lindo, es muy importante, and it's going to be fun as well.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I want to go ahead and bring in nuestra amiga. Esta amiga que vamos a introducir ahorita viene siendo la persona que obviamente que es la directora de este evento. She is the director of El CHUCO Town Forever because, first of all, we want to celebrate Laura Moreno. We want to celebrate her because for everything and all that she has done for our community, being a Latina, being a director in a major city, in a production here at the Alley Theater es bueno, ni tengo palabras para poder expresar lo contento que estamos. Vamos a dar la bienvenida a nuestra amiga Laura Moreno to talk to us a little bit about her vision of directing El CHUCO Town Forever.
Good evening, Laura. It really is a pleasure to welcome you. Esto es un logro because we have a play that has a lot of topics about our community, written by our community and directed by our community, and a Latina. So first of all, felicitaciones. What are your thoughts on heading this important play at one of the most important theaters in the nation?
It was an honor. It really was. The Alley has been a part of my life since I was very, very young. Seeing A Christmas Carol when I was in elementary into middle school, as I was in theater in high school, coming and watching plays at the theater. It was definitely a very important part of my life and why I ended up pursuing a career in theater. So to be able to work for the Alley is an incredible honor that have wanted my entire life. To be able to work on this particular play with these particular actors for this particular story was not just an honor, but a blessing, because it serves as a great reminder of the humanity of the Latinx community, but also the perseverance that we have within our culture, but that we have heart and we're human, and that we struggle, and that grief knows no bounds. Grief has no color. It affects all of us, and to be able to tell the story of our brothers and sisters in El Paso, it was one of those things that was just kind of, I can't completely put into words. I just know it was a very special honor to be able to do that with this particular team, as well as Isaac Gomez. I mean, the playwright is phenomenal. So
that's really wonderful, because you touch on the art of it. You touch on how art is a catharsis. You touch on how art basically archives our history. But I also love that you mentioned this is full circle. So here is a important theatrical institution that's known around the world that you saw outside, and here you are coming home in your hometown to produce such an important play. That's what we're about. And I want to just mention that right now as we dive into the art of it, because there's so many levels on it. We cannot ignore that. That's beautiful. We're making history together. But there's even more. No, Valde, cuéntanos.
Pues bueno, antes que todo, I want to just reiterate what Laura Moreno has talked about. Ella tuvo una jornada cuando estaba dirigiendo esta obra, porque el tema, como ya se han dado cuenta, es sobre el tiroteo que sucedió en El Paso, en una ciudad fronteriza, en un Walmart. Obviamente le cambiaron el nombre para la obra, pero es algo muy pesado para ella. Ella tuvo que enfocarse y ponerse en esa posición para poder dirigir a los actores. Y para ella pues fue una experiencia fenomenal, y pues hoy está agradecida de esta oportunidad, y pues obviamente está alegre de que estamos celebrando con esta charla, con esta conversación, porque estamos elevando el trabajo que todos los actores, el escritor Isaac Gómez y obviamente Laura Moreno, que nos ha presentado con la dirección de ella, el CHUCO Town Forever. Antes de que vayamos para exhibir el primer clip, vamos a presentar, obviamente, today what we're doing is we have invited some special guests that are going to be talking about the topics that are related inside the El CHUCO Town Forever. We have some mental health experts, and we also have some community partners. So I am excited to introduce two of our mental health experts, and the first one is Blanca Garza. She graduated with her master's in counseling psychology from Pacifica Graduate Institute in California. She currently interns as a bilingual psychotherapist at the Center for Creative Resources under the supervision of Giles Scott Reagan. Ella nos va a decir mucho más sobre ella cuando hablemos un poquito con ella, pero eso es algo muy importante de conocer, que nuestra gente latina es bilingüe y está aquí para ayudarnos. So vamos a escuchar de ella. Y también tenemos al señor Sergio Aguirre. Sergio Aguirre is a certified family partner in Texas, a certified NAMI instructor, which is National Alliance for Mental Health Institute instructor in Texas, and a certified pastoral counselor in New York City. He currently works at the Harris County and is a volunteer advocate with NAMI and the Mental Health of America. So damos la bienvenida para celebrar estas dos personas.
Además, as we mentioned, this really is a community effort. We have a lot of friends, and we also want to welcome the very accomplished, I think it's Latina Power Night, right? Or maybe it always is. Joining us is Borinka Olivares. She is the communications chair for the UH Alumni Association. Go Cougs. Great to have you here and celebrating Nuestra Cultura with many of our alma maters. I got my Master of Fine Arts and Creative Writing there, so I guess I can claim it too, ¿verdad?
Claro que sí.
Also joining us are other community leaders, including Dr. Sergio Lira, public school educator for over 25 years. He's received his doctorate. I want to pause right there because there's only about 3 to 4% Latinos who have doctorates. So it's very important that we achieve that title. He's a doctorate in urban educational policy from the University of Houston. His mission in life is preparing all students for a career or college and advocating for equity of resources for their future. He proudly served on the Houstin ISD School Board as a trustee from 2018 to 2020. I've seen him in action in the classroom and in the community. And also you saw the picture there of Jose Avalos, who serves as president and co-founder of Creative Vida, a local nonprofit with a mission statement to educate and empower youth through creative experiences. He was born in Baytown, Texas, to loving parents and came to this country from a small town in Guadalajara, Jalisco. We're really happy to have him here tonight.
Sí, muchísimas gracias a todos los mental health experts and the community partners. So before we bring them on and we go, so we can start discussing what we're here to charlar about, I want to share with you the very first clip. And this is a clip that it's going to set the foundation and the essence of what this play is about. For those of you that did not get an opportunity to see El CHUCO Town Forever prior to the child, don't worry. You're going to see the clips, and you're going to start seeing how it all comes together, and the essence and the importance of this particular play. So, without any further ado, vamos a ver el primer clip 1.
Have you seen it yet? The memorial for the shooting.
No, not yet.
You can see it right off the freeway. Did a really nice job.
Good. That's good.
Lights up at night too.
Pretty.
You should see it.
I don't think I'm gonna go tonight, Miguelito.
But it's the vigil. Everybody's gonna be there.
I know.
They're letting us off early so that we can all...
Doesn't mean we have to go.
What are you gonna do instead?
I don't know. Stay home? Make a pizza?
Bueno, you've already seen the essence of this particular clip. We're going to let our mental health experts and community partners take 2 minutes to, again, say a little brief intro on themselves, and then to give us their reaction to this very first clip. Let's start with Blanca Garza.
Hola, Valde y Tony. Si me escuchan, estoy contenta de estar aquí con ustedes. I'm happy to be here with you guys. And, this clip is, like you said, just a very important clip. It gives us a small window into the life of, 2 people who are going through the aftermath of this event that has just happened, this tragic terrorist event that has affected not just, them, their store, their community, but the ripple effects of it just kind of extend out. And so you have these 2 very different views in terms of, how they are going to deal with it and how they're coping with things. And that's kind of what, we're starting to see here. And that's, gives us just that little window into these, how to people react in these events that just seem to be happening more and more often and more frequently. And so that's, I think, such an important passage and you'll continue to see like the other passages as we go through them, and how the reactions are quite different, but very important for, how people cope with such, such events, but the resilience also, and the struggles that just like Laura Moreno kind of mentioned earlier. So great to be here.
Muchísimas gracias, Blanca. Thank you so much for your perspective. Now we'll go with Mr. Sergio Aguirre. Cuéntanos. Sergio, I believe you have your microphone off. There we go.
Thank you again for having me today. Congratulations again for all these efforts, and it's great. What we see in this clip is definitely a response, an emotional response to a catastrophic event. When that happens, usually we get in shock and we get in denial. We have afraid, we are fear that this can happen again. We are in trauma automatically. So those two characters, one is trying to animate each other, but in fact, the male part is trying to animate the female peer, but in fact, he's trying to animate himself to go. She is in the denial, she is in fear, and she's in shock. This just happened recently, and she doesn't want to know about it. She doesn't want to talk about it because this is something that is ugly, and they definitely don't want to deal with it again.
Thank you for your perspective, Sergio. And now I'd love to know, Veronica, what do you think about this clip that basically epitomizes the conflict of this play?
Hey everybody, go Cougs! I'm Veronica Olivares, the Communications Chair for the University of Houston Hispanic Alumni Association. And I'm so excited to be here for this event. And Valde, thank you so much for having me. I think the importance of, why we're here today and, talking about El CHUCO Town Forever is that we're gonna get to talk about a shared human experience. And I think when we talk about guilt and shame and the things that these characters are going to go through, we're going to be able to connect as a community. And when we connect that way, we can also feel like we're not alone. And I think that's the importance of this conversation, is that we're going to get to talk about these things and connect as a community, as a Hispanic community, but also just as Houston in general. So excited to be here, and I look forward to getting further into this clip.
Muchísimas gracias, Vero. Muchísimas gracias. Ahora nos vamos con nuestro compañero, Dr. Sergio Lira.
Hey guys, hey compadres, how y'all doing? So good to see y'all. And I've been in education for a long time, and one thing that I've always wondered is, where's our stories? Where's our fine arts? Where's our bellas artes? And I commend you guys for, taking the lead on this. It's so important. You go to Mexico City, you go to Europe, and you see these centers of cultural expression through writing, through arts, through paints, through drama, through opera. And, it's unfortunate that we don't see it that clear or that often here. And, we're a city of 4 million people, almost 5, now 1 million, probably half or more than half are Latinos. So it's long overdue, and I applaud you guys for doing that. But in reference to this clip, which is really important, is that, when tragedy strikes in our culture and our community from an educational standpoint, we tend to become unmotivated. It causes an emotional barrier, not only to learning, but also to being effective and to function every day. So you see two types of response to a tragedy that is close. One is optimism, to show solidarity and unity. Let's go out there and help the community. Estamos con ustedes, cuenta con nosotros. And then you see the other side of indifference, unmotivation, apathy. That's something sometimes they have characterized our culture in those terms. But in reality, the unmotivated is unmotivated for a very powerful reason. So I think we need to explore more of this and just help unveil the cultural barriers, and to help our community prosper and to become amazing individuals. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Lira. And I really admire that you always are championing the voice of Latinos. I also love that behind you, you've got that great display of books. Room Raider is going to give you a 10 because they're that organization that talks about the background, and you've got the beautiful bookshelf, important art, and some great books. So thank you for always being consistent with that message. And now we turn to Jose Avalos. Please give us your perspective on this clip that really touches on the essential elements of this play.
Yeah, of course. So really happy to be here. Un placer estar aquí con todos ustedes. Creo que el clip que mostraron pues enseña, como estaba diciendo uno de los otros presentadores, de cómo no hay una educación todavía en nuestra comunidad de qué hacer con estas conversaciones que son difíciles, ¿verdad? Porque desafortunadamente creo que van a seguir pasando y tenemos que averiguar qué hacer. Y como dicen, vemos dos diferentes, alguien que está viendo la situación positiva y pues hay que juntarnos, y otra persona que no exactamente sabe qué hacer para juntar todas sus emociones y todo, y pues salen en este teatro que vamos a ver aquí. Entonces, estoy muy emocionado de que podamos traer esta conversación a la luz para que nuestra comunidad pueda verla, para que la compartan, para que mañana que estén en el cafecito puedan hablar de ella y decir, hey, ¿te acuerdas de lo que pasó aquí? ¿Cuál fue tu opinión? Quizás nunca hablamos de ello, quizás nos quedamos callados, pero estoy agradecido por la oportunidad de poder hablar de esto hoy en este momento. So, gracias, Valdemar y Tony, por esta oportunidad.
Claro que sí, amigo. Estamos emocionados de que puedan que nos puedan acompañar y compartir en este diálogo, en esta conversación, como le decimos, cuentos y charlas, porque es muy importante. Y para mis amigos que no, for my friends that don't understand Spanish, Mr. Juan Avalos, he pretty much said that it's wonderful that we can have a conversation started on these topics. They're very deep, they're very strong, they're very emotional topics, and the fact that we can connect art with reality, start a conversation, because this is very relevant to the situation that we are living in. So, wow, what an amazing perspective from all of our mental health experts and our community partners.
Well, and I gotta pull out my professor card here, because I don't want people to react in. For example, sometimes when someone shows up to a class and they didn't read the assignment, they feel like, I'm gonna sneak out of here, I'm not gonna get the most out of this. Not at all. The play is 11 minutes long. If you haven't seen it yet, we hope we're inspiring you to see it. But we also want to let you know that it's so profound. It's very deep, that we're touching on different nuances. None of them is right. None of them is wrong. We kind of want to open up the different layers. And like Jose said, we want to encourage you to go back with your family. Maybe you're going to tell them about the play. For sure, they've heard about this issue. This is something that affected our community, but this touches on different things. So, for example, now there's been several mass shootings this year. So what happens to our whole society when it seems like after 3 weeks, we forget about this? So this is very touching on many different levels. And that's what I love about this.
Yeah, wonderful. And it's the fact that we are very well rounded with our panel, pues es muy emocionante tener todas esas perspectivas. So now we're going to jump into what we're going to do is we're going to dissect, and we're going to go clip by clip and see what our panelists have, what kind of comments, what kind of advice they have for us. And I want to mention, if you have a question out there, our friends from Facebook and YouTube, si tienen preguntas, you have questions, please put it in the chat. This is what this is for. This is so that we can answer your questions. If you have a specific comment, please put it in the chat.
It might wind up right here, no?
That's right. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and go with our second clip.
Fucking slacker!
Out of the way! Oh my God, you
God, I
almost
wish
made
I
me
would have
shit
taken a
myself
picture
in
of that.
the
It looked like you were
hole.
about to shit
Swear,
yourself.
I can't get a fucking break around here. It's like nobody gets me.
What are you even doing back here?
What is this, the Spanish Inquisition? Can a bitch take a
Oh,
nap? Fuck.
okay. Sorry I even asked.
Yeah, what are you doing back here, huh? That's the real question.
I'm working. What does it look like?
¿Qué opinión tienes? ¿Qué nos dices? ¿Qué reaccionas con que es una de las primeras escenas en el CHUCO Town Forever?
Y también, Blanca, so many bad words. Se aventaron con las malas palabras. I mean, is that part of the style? Should we be shocked?
Hola, sí. Yeah, from the get-go, we see how the play opens up. It's powerful. We just delve right into the emotions. What we see Jamie sleeping. And so our first thought might be that she's lazy, she's unmotivated, she's, tired for whatever reason. But, as we think about it a little further, even las malas palabras, that's all a part of a trauma response. And she's obviously, as we just look at her, and she doesn't even really maybe realize it, but chronic fatigue is a trauma response. And so those triggers happen to us when we might not even know it, and her, of course, the cussing and is her, there's her rage and her, she says it like, is this the Spanish Inquisition? Like what, nobody gets me. Nobody gets what's going on with me. And so she feels obviously very alone. And a lot of times, we need to really pay attention to these sort of symptoms. If we're sleeping all the time, if we're not able to function in our lives, because we do, our limbic system kicks in. We've got, fight, flight, and freeze responses a lot of times that we don't really realize, and those are protective mechanisms that our systems, our bodies just kind of kick into. And they affect our behavior, they affect our memory, perhaps we might have symptoms of depression, anxiety, rage, fear, all of those things come through, and sometimes they're even somatic. Sometimes we start to feel pains or migraines, or our autoimmune system kind of goes down. So, again, this is the very beginning of the play and how we start out, and we might dismiss it, but these are all of the things that we, really have to pay attention, not only in ourselves as a community, towards our friends, if, they don't realize kind of maybe what's going on with them, our friends and family. So it's an amazing, amazing clip and an amazing way to start out.
Thank you, Blanca. You really provide a very nice analysis of how that language works. And from a writing style, it's quotidian, it's how workers sound. I think one of our viewers commented, it's real life. And I think that's the richness of how the characters look, how they feel, how they act. And again, as a writer, you want to bring that verisimilitude. You want to bring those details, and we recognize it. So that es muy fuerte, es muy fuerte.
Sí, no, obviamente. Si estamos viendo los comentarios ahorita que están diciendo que ya era tiempo de tener este tipo de conversación. It's time to have these conversations. And on mental health, it's nosotros como latinos no nos gusta hablar de sobre esos temas, pero son muy importantes de tener esta educación para saber que podemos recibir ayuda. Us for Latinos, it's important. We don't like to talk about it because, hey, dicen que estás toco, que estamos, we're crazy. No, es que necesitamos ayuda para poder enfrentar estos tipos de temas que suceden en la vida real, por pronto no a nosotros, pero a otra gente. Pues muchísimas gracias por todos los comentarios, muchísimas gracias. La señora Loli Ramírez Bennett y María Lira, muchísimas gracias. Now we're going to go to our next clip, which is clip number 3.
Yes!
No!
Yes!
No!
Yes! It could have been our store!
No!
You know it could have been! We're lucky.
Lucky!
Okay? Lucky!
Right. And that makes everyone else what? Unlucky.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know either.
Janie, come in, please. Janie, come in.
Again, this is a short play, but every single moment is action-packed and full of meaning. We saw the conflict of the play earlier. This is one of the other themes. Is it just luck? Dr. Lira, give us some more nuances about this play, because we can take it in at face value, but there's so many other layers as well. ¿Qué piensa usted?
No. Esta parte, this is the climax of this story. It really changed the whole dynamics. It just engaged me strongly, but it questions the existential question of who is lucky and who is unlucky, who determines how we live, where we live, when we live, and when we don't. This was just a very powerful part of the play. And in life, sometimes we wonder, who's the one that's going to pull the string and determine whether I wake up today or not tomorrow. This is the existential question. Now, we look at death in very different ways in different cultures, and we express death in very different culture. We embrace death in our culture, but we also do not discuss death in our culture. Death is rarely ever discussed in any school setting and very little in our community. So it's a topic that needs to be discussed in our culture because it questions our mortality, who we are. We're just a body of mass. But who determines whether or not tomorrow you may go to work and have an accident? Who determines whether you come home? And the beauty of our culture is that I remember growing up, my mother will always dame la bendición y vaya con Dios as I left the house, knowing that I may never come back. That is powerful. So this question of the lucky and the unlucky is a question for the ages. Muchas gracias.
Powerful, and so many really relevant cultural connections right there. Laura Moreno, the director, is also reminding us that in this play, they're basically trying to capture the whole notion that the assailant took the wrong exit. So here are these two characters reflecting upon that fact. Now, what can we do about it? That again is, Dr. Lira says, that's the existential question. Do you do nothing? Do you do something? Is there a wrong answer? Can you do anything? I hope that the folks who are watching this and inspire their familias to watch this play as well. Let's engage in that, because I think this catharsis helps us really understand the bigger picture, bigger themes of life, and it really has these deeper implications.
Before we go to our next community partner, I want to bring Laura Moreno to come back up, because Laura, this is, I mean, you're telling us, you're the one that had to dissect the script line by line, and can we bring Laura up on board, please, and fill us in more? Por favor.
Because it's such a short play, too.
It is. I think what was really helpful for all of us is that we had the playwright in the room with us. His name is Isaac Gomez, came in, and this little piece actually is a play inspired by a larger play that he had written called Wally World, where he had been researching that particular Walmart for 6 years prior to the shootings. And it was about his mom's 25 years working for Walmart, being a manager there. And so that's where like Janie and Miguel are inspired by, are the people that work with his mom. And then suddenly the shooting happens and he has to kind of capture that moment. And he didn't know how. And so he wrote this piece because it was his way of healing from it and trying to understand all of the different dynamics and forms of grief that he experienced when he went back home to help the community heal and to clean up and to recover and to restore. And so he got to see all of these things. And so he put them in these I think it's a total of 7 pages. And it was one of those things that he told us, he started off by telling us a heartbreaking story about when he got home and how he spoke to his mom and how he got to watch the community grieve. But then also going back home around the memorial and watching that kind of the 2 different types of grief, the one that doesn't want to go, but then the one that does want to go and support everyone else. And so that kind of balance between the 2. But that was one of the things that he had mentioned to us early on as we were dissecting the play was the shooter was meant to go to their Walmart. He missed the exit. And instead of turning back around, he just went to the next Walmart. And it just goes to show like how calculated it was, that it wasn't just out of the blue. He drove over 12 hours to get there. And so you're not just dealing with the events of that day, you're dealing with the events that someone was out to get you. And there's a lot that's there and present. And I think, as a Latina, knowing that our people were targeted for just being brown, just being Latino. And that's really hard. Very close to the shootings recently in Atlanta, where they were targeting Asian women. It's just, there's so much more than just grief that comes with that, and healing as a community. It's identity as well. And so those are things that we had to unpack while we went through the play, and just little things like that. I also mentioned in the comments that the Walmart we see at the beginning, that's actually Isaac's mom's Walmart. That's the one that, so we put Wally World on, we put Wally World on the top, but that's his mom's Walmart. And it was very important that we have that in the play as well, because it's very close to him, but I also think it's very close to all of us, because it's our everyday life. It's where we go. It's what we do. It's home. And so I thought it was really necessary to have those roots in there. Yeah.
Wow. We're really privileged for you to share that. For folks that may have just stumbled upon this broadcast, that's Laura Moreno, who directed the play El CHUCO TOWN FOREVER. There's a Latino playwright as well. I want to point out two things that we have to really embrace right now. One, we are the experts, nuestra cultura. It's very rare to have all levels of Latinos talking about this. And I bring it up too because during the shooting, we saw on mainstream media that there were not enough Mexican, Mexican-American, or Latino journalists to report on the slaughter of Mexican-Americans and Mexicans. So that's one thing. We cannot delve into that further, because I think that having all the Latinos in the panel, in the play, we touch on the important values that are overlooked, more for you to talk about at home. The second thing I want to say, and then I'm going to throw it to Valdemar, is that this is a living work of art, in that this happened in August of 2019. We've passed the 1 year marking of that, which is what the play touches on. It's going to change at the 2 year mark, at the 3 year mark, at the 4 year mark, at the 10 year mark. What happens to our history as it's erased in general, and during moments like this as well? Cuéntanos un poco más, ¿qué piensas usted? Y comparte con los escuchantes en español, por favor.
Claro que sí, Tony. Y en lo que, pues obviamente estamos orgullosos y honrados de tener a la directora Laura Moreno con nosotros, porque nos puede dar un vistazo de lo que ella tiene en la mente y en el corazón cuando dirigió esta obra. Y nos dice que la persona que hizo el tiroteo, él confió de que cuando venía en el freeway, él se pasó del exit que intentaba llegar. ¿Qué quiere decir? Que el Walmart venía siendo el Walmart donde estos dos personajes trabajan. Si no hubiera pasado ese exit, hubiera llegado allí y el tirotero hubiera pasado allí. Nuestra amiga Loli Ramírez Beren nos dice que es rudo, this is raw, y a veces tenemos que compartirlo así rudamente. We need to sometimes say it in how it is, so that people can open their eyes and realize the reality of these things that are happening. So, Laura, muchísimas gracias por conversar con nosotros y darnos ese punto de vista tú como directora tienes. Ahora vamos con nuestro community partner, José Avalos, que nos comparta su perspectiva en el clip que acabamos de ver.
Gracias, Valdemar. Sí, fue un honor escuchar eso, porque nunca sabemos, ¿verdad? A veces hay unos ataques para nosotros y nos salva la vida Dios o en lo que tú creas, y tenemos que estar muy agradecidos por cada día que tenemos el placer de abrir los ojos en esta tierra. Yo me quería enfocar un poquito en el clip donde empiezan a decir, I don't know, y se pausan, y le dicen, well, I don't know either. Y ahí se termina la conversación, ¿verdad? Luego la llaman porque hay algo que necesita que limpiar, y pues ahí se termina la conversación. No sabemos si sigue o qué pasa allí. Y eso creo que pasa muchas veces, ¿verdad? Y está mal no poder terminar esas conversaciones difíciles. O yo no sé, pues yo tampoco sé. Y ahí se queda, pero ahí es donde está la oportunidad para crecer, ¿verdad? Para entender un poquito mejor, y necesitamos que dejar que nuestra familia, nuestros amigos, sea la persona que estemos hablando, que pues se puedan expresar, y dando la gracia de que quizás puedan decir algo equivocado o algo no muy correcto, porque pues estamos teniendo estas conversaciones por la primera vez. Entonces creo que eso fue importante de notar, de que no terminaron su conversación, y ahí podía haber sido un momento muy especial para los dos de crecimiento espiritual, crecimiento mental, crecimiento en diferentes formas. Y hay que nomás tomar nota la próxima vez que escuchemos a alguien decir, no, pues no sé, de no responder con, no, pues yo tampoco sé, y moverse. De mejor dice, pues no, quizás no sé, pero ¿qué crees? Entonces, seguir la conversación, y para poder sanarnos de diferentes cosas y traumas, para poder seguir adelante y crecer. Esos son mis comentarios.
Pues muchísimas gracias, José Avalos. Siempre me emociono de que tienes la sabiduría de poder compartir en nuestro lenguaje latino tu perspectiva en esto, y es muy importante porque ahorita quiero tocar un poquito de lo que le llamamos la justicia del lenguaje. Aquí en el arte, our creative arts, we're able to communicate with our diverse Houston, y lo hacemos bilingüe, Spanglish, como somos nosotros, ¿verdad? Muchísimas gracias, José Avalos. Y ahora pues nos vamos con Blanca, que es nuestra amiga, que es una mental health expert, que sabemos ahora en la perspectiva de ella como una psicoterapista. Blanca.
Hola de nuevo. Sí, another very, very powerful clip here, where we have like these two opposing viewpoints, these two opposing feelings about how to actually cope with this. And hers is very avoidant, and his, is more like, well, let's get involved with the community, and that's what he feels is going to help him. Pero lo que resalta, like what kind of comes out also in this is that, like Jose Avalos said, it's like the conversation ends and there's no process, and they don't have any resources, like no one to reach out to. Nothing was provided for them to actually, take this further, to process and go through this. And that happens a lot. O sea, ellos no pueden procesar sus sentimientos. O sea, lo que ella admite es que no sabe ni qué sentir. Like, she doesn't even know what to feel. And a lot of times we just get stuck there. And those things turn into, again, like coping mechanisms that aren't healthy a lot of times, and can turn into other types of symptoms and symptomology. So it's, again, really important for us as a community to also have those resources available to us, and to know that it's okay to reach out to someone, to a mental health expert, alguien que pueda hablar tu idioma, que te entienda, que, that knows that, yes, you're resilient, and yes, you can, handle it by yourself, and you're strong. I think the very like CHUCO town, it's like CHUCO town is Chucos, we're strong, we're resilient, we get through it. But in the end, it's like all of that starts to add up, and really, really takes away from our quality of life. And then, the other aspect of this is also how racist this was, and how, that's not even really brought up verbally by the two participants in this conversation. And so, we've got microaggressions, and we've got macroaggressions, we've got small T trauma and big T trauma. And so all of those things are things that we have to like really start to look at as a community, and start to heal from and resolve. So I think, there's a lot of work for us to do, and, resources that we just need to get out to the community, so that there's more involvement, obviously, and that they, feel that it's okay to reach out to somebody.
Those are some great points, Blanca. Thank you for sharing that. One thing you mentioned is that this was a racist attack, and there's a lot of subtext to that. What happens when we don't deal with it? What's also out there, which has been talked about in the news, is that the assailant had this manifesto full of all these racist ideas and stereotypes about Mexicans and Mexican Americans. This is another topic for discussion too. I mean, it's not brought up in the play, but it's there as well. And what happens when these stereotypes float around and people fill in the blanks with those stereotypes or generalizations, and the havoc it causes, the trauma it causes at many different levels. So thank you for bringing that up. Very, very, very potent stuff.
Absolutely. You know, it's these topics are so heavy. They're so full of emotion. I want to just interject right now and do a little positive note. A quick shout out to our amiga, nuestra comadre, Maria Elena Cortez, que right now, as she saw Laura Moreno and knowing that she's directing, she wants to let us know that she's a teacher, she's an artist, and further down, Laura, we would love for you to bring you up to answer this question at the tail end of the production, but she's asking, where can Latinos get opportunities to submit ideas or auditions? So keep that in your back, Laura, because we'll bring you back up so you can share with all of our audience.
Marilyn's a good friend of ours too, fantastic writer, activist.
Oh, sí. Y muchísimas gracias, Mariana, por hacer esa pregunta y ese comentario, because I know there's a lot of people looking at this that will be seeing the rebroadcast and they're wondering, hey, they're doing this programming. Hey, how can I be a part of
Let's launch some careers.
Exactly. So
a lot of great comments out there as well, too. You know what? Let's get everybody involved. And we have Sergio Aguirre now, who's going to tell us a little more his perspective. I'm going to keep my mouth shut, okay? Because I want to hear what everyone has to say. And this play brings out so much in us. Let's hear from Sergio, and then we'll hear some more of the comments. Yeah. Sergio Aguirre, cuéntanos su perspectiva. Tell us a little bit about what you're thinking.
Claro, lo voy a hacer en español en este momento. Estamos viendo lo que es las secuelas, el resultado de un evento catastrófico como este, y comienza a crear sentimientos y problemas en la mente de las personas. Hemos identificado los problemas, pero en este momento quisiera aprovechar para decirles que en Houston también tenemos soluciones. Quisiera compartir con ustedes un recurso. En NAMI Greater Houston, nosotros tenemos clases que se llaman psicoeducacionales, donde podemos explicar cuál es el impacto que tiene en el cerebro estas actividades catastróficas. Y también tenemos grupos de apoyo, donde usted puede venir y reunirse con otras personas y crecer internamente. Nosotros también estamos entendiendo que como resultado de estos problemas, una de la población que está siendo más afectada son los niños, porque los niños están en la mitad de todo esto, ellos están creciendo y a veces ellos no entienden este lenguaje de odio y esta conversación de odio que estaba tomando lugar antes. Y entonces no solamente se confunden en su identidad, sino que también ellos son víctimas al pertenecer a este grupo, vamos a decir, étnico que está siendo atacado, como en el caso del shooting que ocurrió en ese Walmart, que dicho sea de paso también para mí, tiene una situación bastante especial porque tengo mi familia política en El Paso, Texas, y yo visitaba mucho ese Walmart. De hecho, cuando yo iba al Paso, Texas, siempre pasaba por allí, y después de ese shooting yo estuve por allí como un mes después de ese acontecimiento, y es algo que impacta de una o de otra manera a la comunidad. Así que quiero decirles que hay oportunidad de poder tener servicios a través de NAMI de Greater Houston, llamando al teléfono 713-970-4483. 713-970-4483. Queremos escuchar de ustedes, queremos ayudarles, queremos conocerles. Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Sergio. Gracias por esa información. Our friend Sergio has given us a number 713 970-4483 as a number that you could call to get support if you're feeling anxious, you're feeling depressed, if you just want someone to listen to your, just someone to listen to what you're going through by listening to the news, by what's going on in the world. This is a number that you can call and someone will be there and they'll answer in English or in Spanish. Let them know. Gracias, muchísimas gracias, amigo, por este número. Y para todos los panelistas, si tienen un número que quieren compartir más al ratito, les vamos a pedir que por favor nos lo faciliten para poder pasárselos a nuestros amigos de YouTube y nuestros amigos de Facebook. Y bueno, pues, ¿qué te parece si nos vamos a la próxima? Let's go to the next clip.
Why?
Why? Because it wasn't our store.
It still happened here in El Paso.
But not our store.
I mean, 40 of their associates work here now. So I think it'd be nice to show support, solidarity.
But we weren't there.
Had that fucking psycho taken exit 37, then it would have been.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Ay, Dios mío. Ay, Dios mío. Otra vez es that part for them, they can't fathom the fact that this man missed the exit and said, I missed the exit. It was that other Walmart. Veronica, you have some really strong thoughts and opinions about this. Share them with us.
Wow. I mean, you can see both sides. I mean, he's trying to find a connection with his town. This is El Paso. Like, these are our people. We need to be there. Even if we don't understand what they went through, they can come to us and know that we'll just give them a hug or, let them know that we're there for them. Where on the other hand, she's distancing herself. She's trying to, push away those feelings if, she doesn't want to feel the shame of that. And we see that a lot. And we just need to not judge another person for, she decides not to go. That's her thing too. But everybody's going to react their own way. And I'm saying, I'm going to be there for everybody, but also I feel like I lean more towards her and say, oh, I don't want to feel this hurt right now, and kind of, push away the connection. I mean, it's just a powerful scene, and it's a great story.
You make a really powerful point there. Maybe part of the catharsis that this play brings us is for us to look this trauma in the eye and understand that there's not a right way, there's not a wrong way. And if you've got these doubts, if you think that maybe you're reacting in a certain way that is odd, not called for, it's better to stare it in the eye, to talk about it. And this play is one way to engage in that. But exactly like you're saying, it's almost maybe just the whole effort of sharing those thoughts, of hearing others think about it. And maybe you don't have to say anything. You can watch the protagonist undergo this discussion and you can say, okay, I get it. I'm in a good space. Maybe it's not time for you to talk about it, but this opens the way. And I really want to emphasize, this is not to judge anyone. This is to finally have these deep discussions about our community that's been traumatized. If you take a look at our history, you can go back and find so many different examples of where our gente have been hurt, oppressed, overlooked, erased. It's time to start talking about it. What a great way and positive way to do it in art, because at the end of the day, we all win. We're stronger, we're wiser, and we can see how our community matters. So thank you for those words. Es como deep, es deep, como
Sí.
dicen los jóvenes, es deep.
Claro que sí, y obviamente son temas muy difíciles y que nos duele cuando estamos hablando de... Ay, no, vamos con nuestro amigo Dr. Sergio Lira. Amigo, háblanos.
Sí, cuando sucede una tragedia en la comunidad, a veces pensamos, wow, no nos pasó a nosotros, no me voy a envolver, ya no quiero seguir escuchando el sufrimiento de otros porque yo he sufrido mucho, no quiero prolongar el sufrimiento, quiero darle sus espacios. Pero también en el otro lado es un momento muy importante de venir como una comunidad, porque sobre todo de una tragedia, hay lecciones que tenemos que aprender y hablar. Por ejemplo, la cuestión de Vanessa Guillen, cuando tuvo sus primeras manifestaciones o prensas, no había gente, no había ella, la mamá suplicaba porque algo está mal, porque el tema es grande, es overarching. El problema de sexual abuse sobre niñas en el ejército, como que es intocable, no debemos de hablar de eso, es tabú, pero es momentos que nosotros tenemos que despertar y ayudar y apoyar y no esperar hasta que nos afecte a nosotros para reaccionar y participar, porque no es necesario. Estos problemas, estas cuestiones de, como dijo el señor Díaz, hay una historia de opresión, de tramar nuestra comunidad con pólizas racistas, de aprovecharse de nuestra gente. Y es el tiempo de tener ese diálogo y hablar y no evitar estos cuando la persona, un miembro de la comunidad habla y exige que ya los apoyamos por su dolor, no debemos de pensar dos veces y no debemos de esperar que nos pase a nosotros para ir a participar. Y tenemos mucho que crecer en esa área y los agradezco.
Wow, thank you for those words, Dr. Lira. And I don't want to talk about the words you said. I want to point out that you're coming at this as a PhD, as an instructor, as a former elected official, as a community member. And when you speak, all those levels work at once. And that's how profound our community can be. But I think we're not always privileged to that discussion. We're bringing that to you tonight. And I love that the people commenting can, I got to resist diving more into what you just said. That could be a whole workshop itself, because la gente está comentando también, la gente quiere hablar de esto.
Sí, ahorita nuestra amiga María Lira nos dice, definitivamente la cultura hispana ha sido afectada por diferentes eventos migratorios, políticos, religiosos, económicos, que todo llega y todo nos consume, todos esos elementos nos consume y nos afecta. Y luego tenemos este evento catastrófico, como un tiroteo, pues obviamente, ¿qué es lo que podemos, qué es lo que hacemos? Nos deprimimos, o sea, y luego pedimos auxilio y a veces no existe el auxilio. Ahorita queremos invitar a Blanca Garza que nos diga, tiene un número.
Y bueno, eso fue María Lira, que también es activista, pero profundamente activista. So, awesome.
Te queremos mucho, María. Gracias por todo lo que haces y gracias por tus comentarios. Blanca Garza, queremos que nos des la oportunidad para que tú vengas y nos digas el número de tu lugar para que la gente pueda llamar o el website, lo que tú nos quieres decir, por favor.
Sí, yo estoy ahorita en el Centro de Recursos Creativos. Es una organización sin fines de lucros que ya es parte de Houston desde los 70s y el número para contactarlos es el 713-461-7549. The number for the Center for Creative Resources is 713-461-7599. And it's an organization that has been in Houston since the 70s. It's a nonprofit.
Discúlpame que te interrumpí. Dice 7599 o 7549.
Perdón, 99 al final.
7599. Ok, gracias. Síguele. Perdón.
Y sí, o sea, ahí los podemos atender en español o en inglés. We have therapists who speak English or Spanish. It's functions on a sliding scale. So we have a lot of people who, might be students or might, not have a lot of means to pay. So it's a great organization that has been around for a long time as part of Houston, and it's expanding. And, I'm here trying to outreach the community and let people know that, that there's something available.
Can I give a plug for writing? You mentioned creative responses. Maybe it's not time for you to talk. Maybe you don't want to talk. As part of Nuestra Palabra Latino Writers having to say, we want everyone to share their voice. It doesn't have to be published. Don't even worry about that racket. If you feel something today, get that blank sheet of paper, start writing, share your voice. You got to write like you've got the courage to say things you might be scared to say out loud. You don't have to show it to anybody, but just putting it down on paper te quita esa inquietud y al mismo tiempo puedes examinar tus pensamientos, and we're deep individuals that don't always have a chance to express ourselves. So I'd love it if someone watching today is inspired to write about this, and more importantly to share this story. Again, this is an 11-minute play, but you need to go back and sift through it, watch it with your familia, maybe talk about it. There's so much to this.
There is a wonderful question that one of our audience members is posting, but I'm going to come to him after we see our final clip. For all of our mental health experts and our panelists, this is going to be the last clip that we're going to share with you. And after this, we're going to ask you to give us your final thoughts. Let's wrap this up. This is going to have the essence of the entire play and what is ultimately the outcome of these two characters and their situation. Entonces vamos a ir al último clip y después vamos a contestar preguntas de la audiencia, al igual darle la oportunidad a nuestro panel de que nos diga sus últimos pensamientos, último detalle, qué es lo que ellos capturaron de este evento, de esta obra teatral y qué es el consejo que les va a dar a ustedes, nuestra audiencia. So, vamos al último clip.
And what happened to your car? Saw smoke from out front.
Carburetor, it's all fucked up.
Damn.
I know.
That sucks. I'm sorry.
It's all good. That car's a piece of shit.
But how you getting over there tonight?
I don't know. Bus, probably.
Oh, come on. You don't need to take the bus. Someone can give you a ride.
Someone?
I'd offer, but, I got the car seat. And Mikey's dioramas.
Oh, okay.
It's just a mess in there.
I get it.
You could grab a ride with Andy.
Wow. So ahorita nos regresamos un poquito en el principio, how they're all going to, how they're reacting about going to the vigil and who's going to give them a ride. Right after this is actually one of the very first scenes. Now, back to back, let's play clip number 5 because this is the actual outcome.
So that's it, huh?
I don't think there's anything left to say. Be safe out there.
You too, Janie. You too.
So you saw back to back how the conversation started, all happy, talking about yes, how are you going to get a ride to get to the vigil, blah blah blah, and then the volada, jump to the end of the production, and that's the outcome. All she could say is stay safe. You be safe out there. So we went full circle, Tony. I want to give an opportunity now to all of our panelists. We're going to start before we go to the panelists. I'm going to bring this because we've already seen the majority of the play. There is a wonderful question from Shani Tulos, who says, well, let's bring that question. He wants to know how do we share this subject and talk to our children when they're watching the news, they're seeing what's happening. How can you talk to these students? How can you talk to the young people about these tragedies and help them cope with what they're feeling at a very young age? So as you answer your final thoughts, everyone in the panel, please address this question. Let's go ahead and start with Veronica.
Hi, Cheney. Great question. I think the way we can help our students is addressing it before these tragedies happen. Like, let's equip them with mental health resources and get connected with things before these things happen, so we're prepared. And when they realize, they see these, they start feeling these emotions, they're like, okay, this is guilt, this is shame, this is not me hiding under a blanket because I'm a terrible person. These are real feelings because I went through something. So I think the best way that we can help our students is equipping them before tragedies happen.
Great, thank you. Jose Avalos, cuéntanos ustedes in a final view of these, the summation of these clips in your view. ¿Qué piensas?
Yeah, so esa pregunta está difícil de responder porque creo que nadie lo ha hecho bien todavía, ¿verdad? Sigue siendo un problema en las escuelas de cómo le decimos a los estudiantes qué es lo que está pasando y todo, y hay diferentes niveles dependiendo del vecindario. Ya hay vecindarios que quizás antes estaban seguros y ahorita no, porque estas cosas pasan sin saber, ¿verdad? Nunca sabemos cuando regresamos. Entonces yo creo que es importante de que el tiempo que tomamos ahorita quizás para, pues como este evento ahorita, ¿verdad? Cuentos y charlas, hay que multiplicar este tipo de conversación más y más y más, porque quizás alguien está teniendo estas ideas y miran a una persona que está sufriendo un momento difícil, y en vez de no tener la conversación con ellos, o en vez de ignorarlos, quizás si ya están impuestos nuestros estudiantes a ver un problema, ver a alguien que tiene un momento difícil, ir hacia ellos, ofrecerles ayuda, ofrecerles conversación, o simplemente no ignorarlos, dejarles saber de que, hey, aquí estoy, yo te miro, te siento, y como que algo no está bien, pero aquí estoy para poder ayudarte. Pero eso no es muy común, ¿verdad?, en nuestra comunidad ahorita, y quizás es tiempo de que tengamos el valor para tener esas conversaciones con personas, para que gente no nos mire tan diferentes, que no nos miren como una amenaza, o no sé, ¿verdad?, cualquier cosa que personas estén pensando que toman este tipo de acciones que son desastrosas para la comunidad. Y sí, falta mucho. No creo que haya una respuesta correcta ahorita, pero creo que el mundo ahorita nos está calando a ver cómo vamos a responder, ¿verdad? Porque como dije anterior, estas cosas desafortunadamente no van a parar de seguir pasando. Y tenemos que empezar a hablar en la mesa mientras estamos almorzando con nuestros hijos, con nuestra familia, con nuestros hijos, de estas experiencias, ¿verdad? O papá, mamá, ¿qué hicieron ustedes cuando oyeron que hubo una balacera, o que hicieron esto, ¿verdad? Porque no estamos agarrando ni los consejos de nuestros propios padres, de nuestros abuelitos, abuelitas que están allí. Quizás tienen ellos laqueados dentro de ellos un consejo tan bueno, pero como no tenemos estas conversaciones muy seguido, ahí se quedan dentro de ellos. Entonces, creo que más de este tipo de charlas, no nomás aquí con Ali Peter, pero con otras organizaciones en las escuelas, pero las más importantes van a ser en la casa. Tenemos que tener más de esas conversaciones, y de ahí va a empezar a fluir la respuesta para qué poder hacer y cuál es la mejor solución.
Thank you, Jose. Great point. We have to start having these conversations now at home. Let's go to Sergio Aguirre. Break it down for us, Sergio.
Sí, gracias. Una de las experiencias que he tenido en mi vida, yo fui un consejero escolar por 15 años en escuelas elementales, y lo que dice José es una gran verdad. La conversación necesita comenzarse en casa, pero también, si usted es papá, necesita saber que todos los distritos escolares, o la gran mayoría, tienen un sistema de servicios psicológicos donde ellos tienen unos psicólogos que son especializados para practicar en las escuelas, el famoso LSSP que le llaman. Ellos tienen ese entrenamiento para poder trabajar con niños que están pasando por este tipo de traumatismos a la edad escolar. También quiero decirles que NAMI tiene un programa que se llama Teachers and Parents as Allies, que es un programa donde se reúne la comunidad, los padres, las escuelas invitan a un maestro y abren un foro donde se habla sobre la salud mental. Y quiero recordarles que todos los servicios de NAMI, sin excepción, son gratuitos, no tiene que pagar nada. También si usted es padre, usted necesita aprender a reunirse con los papás en la escuela de sus niños. Participe en las reuniones de PTA, de PTO, esas asociaciones de padres donde está la fuerza, porque de allí sale el liderazgo de los padres para poder estar vigilantes de la salud mental de los niños. O sea que sí hay muchas cosas que se pueden hacer y sobre todas las cosas confíen y trabajen con la gente de la escuela, con los consejeros, con los trabajadores sociales, con la enfermera, con los maestros especializados que hay en las escuelas, porque ellos tienen el entrenamiento para poder ayudar a nuestros niños en estos eventos catastróficos, como por ejemplo una balacera o inclusive regresando de la pandemia, de estar un año trabajando en línea, en la casa, ese tipo de cosas. Esos especialistas los pueden ayudar a volver a tomar la rutina, pero lo que tenemos que hacer nosotros como comunidad es aprender a usar los recursos que ya están disponibles para nosotros, pero que a veces nosotros o no los conocemos o no queremos usarlos. Gracias.
I love it. You are empowering our community to get more involved, of course, to their capacity. And if they do need to get more help, you mentioned the number for your organization for NAMI is 713-970-4483. That line is bilingual. And next, let's go to Dr. Lira, who perhaps out of the whole panel has the most experience teaching in the classroom. Dr. Lira, please give us your insights.
Well, I love the question. What can we do for students to help them in the schools? You see, trauma is not an isolated situation. Trauma is not something that is external that happened over there. Trauma, if you look at every person's lifespan, every student's lifespan, trauma happens here, 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 here. It could be a loss. It could be a divorce. It could be a separation of parents, the children under detention centers, the traumatic experience. Any type of physical abuse, any traumatic experience is going to happen in a lifespan of many students. The question is, we don't have resources. We have external resources out here when they become adults. In fact, I just spoke to a teacher right now who is telling me she's having severe problems with depression due to something that happened when she was here. And also the pandemic just made it worse because of the isolation, and it triggers so much. But Veronica said it correctly. We need to start educating the children and students in school with how to deal with anger, how to deal with sadness, how to deal with depression, and not over-medicate them with if they have some anxiety or depression issues, but to discuss and deal with it in an effective way of counseling. The other thing I want to stress, really important, I worked in high school and elementary 13 years in high school. The lack of psychologists in our schools is tragic, because we need to have one psychologist in every school, just like we have a school nurse. The school nurse deals with physical injuries. A psychologist deals with the social, emotional injuries. There's no excuse. I fought for funding for psychologists on the school board and at the State Board of Education. We need a psychologist at every single school. That's it.
Wow, qué fuerte. I think Veronica said that she got chills when Dr. Lira mentioned, let's get a psychologist, parapsychologist in every school. Qué fuerte pensar que es una solución tan práctica, tener un psicólogo en cada escuela. Es como genial, directo, y yo creo que será muy eficaz. Entonces, qué buena idea. Yo creo que estamos nosotros llegando a un punto donde podemos hablar de varios sectores, pero realmente podemos cambiar la vida de nuestra juventud. Eso es muy importante.
Sí.
Importante.
Claro que sí, claro que sí.
Let's talk, Blanca, break it down, Blanca. I'm on this intellectual adrenaline rush, Blanca. Tell me more.
It's amazing what everyone is sharing here, what everyone is talking about. I mean, everything is so relevant, so important. And this play has given voice to our community, voice to the voiceless and the unseen. And I think that's so, so powerful. Like others have said, a veces nos da pena nos da pena, like we are ashamed or we think that's, services are not for us. Pensamos que los servicios que ofrecen la escuela o psicólogos no son para nosotros, pero la verdad que sí. And the sooner, the better. O sea, si a los niños se les enseña cómo manejar sus sentimientos y que es normal, and if we reach our children young or anybody in the community, actually, at any point in our lives, that we start dealing with, some of these traumas that have come through in the past for, whatever we have gone through in our life. And so it's never too late, obviously, and it's certainly never too early. And we just, need to make sure that we do reach out and we don't just stuff everything down and internalize everything, because then, it doesn't just go away. So again, normalizing our feelings around these. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay, those sort of things, and not tell our children, pues no llores, don't cry. Esto no te pertenece, this is not about you, because it is. It's all about, all of us as a community and how we start to deal with and grow from, from these really, really difficult places and start to process. So I'm so excited to have been part of this, and thank you very much for getting all of us together and allowing us to be a part of it.
Well, muchísimas gracias, Blanca. We are thrilled and to have you and all the mental health experts and community partners. And we are just about to wrap up. But before then, we would like to invite the lady of the hour, la creativa de la hora, que hizo todo esto posible, que viene siendo nuestra gran amiga, que se recibió de la Universidad de Houston, Laura Moreno.
Te estamos tirando flores.
Danos tus últimos pensamientos, your final thoughts, amiga.
You rock.
I have a couple, just some resources I know that were dropped into the comments. There's a website, but they also have a Facebook and Instagram as well. It's called Latinx Parenting. It's a wonderful resource for Latinx parents. It really does break down how culturally we were affected by colonialism and how we have carried those scars and those wounds with us throughout generation to generation. And it really does allow you to start opening up the conversation with your own children at home, not carrying on those wounds, healing them within yourself and healing them with, and not passing them on to your children. There also is a really great website called A Kid's Book About. They've got one on racism. They've got one on fear. They've got one on anxiety. They've got one on grief. I know that and what's really, really wonderful is that's not just for kids. I enjoy them as well. They're very, very smart, very, very well-written books that really do kind of just outline all of these things for us to start like taking little tokens away from them and unpacking them and processing them. Oh, also, Maria Elena's question. There are some wonderful resources that we dropped in the chat as well. The Alley Opportunity page, visit that one. But there's also great resources on Latinx Theater Commons and HowlRound for different festival submissions. There are submissions all over the city here for smaller theaters. I know the Alley also accepts them, so definitely check out those resources. And my takeaway is that I think it's a beautiful story. I think these are two beautiful characters. I think it was inspired by just real life people, that there's heart and blood pumping through them. And then I also think that just grief, that we all carry it with us no matter what. Even if we don't experience it, we carry it just by watching. We have our own fears by experiencing the news. And I think the biggest takeaway is that we all grieve differently, but you never know what someone's going through until you walk in their shoes. And I think be kind and allow people the space that they need to be able to heal. And that even though it's out of the news in El Paso, that community is still grieving. instill healing, and we need to send them our love and support because it can be us.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Lara. Very well said. Very well said. And our prayers go out to those families that continue to heal. En nuestro corazón, en nuestras oraciones para esas familias del tiroteo que pasó en El Paso hace varios años. Tony, give me your final thoughts.
Mira, I think that the last question we had was, hey, how do we start dealing with our children to prepare them for this new era? And it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be organic. I'll tell you this, my parents did not go to school. They were migrant workers. I used to have to translate for them. So they followed a lot of Catholic traditions where the way we're talking right now, they would not talk, right? Some of the curse words, some of the topics for different reasons. Tenían un grande corazón. They were very real strong people, but that was the way they approached certain topics. I tell you this because I'm a writer, and I remember at one point we were going to go on a family trip, and my sons, who are men now, teens and early 20s, they were like in grammar school. And I was going to go do a reading before I went on this family trip. And when I write, I mean, right now I'm speaking as a professional and maybe in front of the classroom. In front of the classroom, I don't throw curse words around. But when I write, I reserve the right to write and say how the characters demand, how the art demands. So in this particular piece, there's a lot of strong language, a lot of different images. And I paused for a moment because we were about to go to this family trip. And I'm like, do I put the boys in the back? I would, no. My sons need to understand that I'm an artist. Here are these words. They have a certain role. They mean a certain thing in this context. We as humans feel these different emotions. We must be in control of the words, but we're still people. And I went for it. And you know what? My sons got it. They giggled a bit, but then they got past it. And I say all this because I'm not claiming to be a perfect father. What I'm saying is that our perfections are beautiful. Right? That's really it. We have to dare to look them in the eye, to trust each other, and to grow with them because it's an imperfect world. And this moment of art that reflects our culture, that's what's beautiful. And what I'm hoping right now is people watching right now will be inspired to watch this play. Thank you, Alley Theater, for bringing this art to our community. Thank you for bringing it to Facebook Live to share it. Thank you to the people watching. And out there, I'm excited. We've created either a new theater goer, a new artist, a new actor who's going to audition. But more than anything, this is our culture on our terms. Qué lindo, qué bonito. Take that home, live it, and enjoy it.
Muchísimas gracias, Tony. I am just so inspired by your words. I'm so inspired by everybody's words and everybody's charla esta tarde, esta noche. Bueno, ya estamos cerca de la noche. Muchísimas gracias. I'm going to give you my final thought. As in a CHUCO Town Forever, reality reflects art, and art reflects reality. And as Veronica Olivares mentioned, these kind of tragedies will continue to happen. Not very recent, el tiroteo, la balacera que sucedió, the shooting that happened in Bryan, Texas, just recently. Our prayers, our heart goes out to the victims. They go out to their families, and we will honor them. And, we will continue creating art so we can keep their memories alive, as we are doing with the CHUCO Town Forever. Thank you very much to all the panelists, Veronica Olivares, Jose Avalos, Dr. Sergio Lira, Sergio Aguirre, Blanca Garza. Thank you so much for your support and for contributing to the vision of the Alley Theater's El Zócalo, Cuentos y Charlas. Thank you, Tony, for being my co-host. And I thank Kathy Bencivenga. I'd like to thank Emily Brazier, Cheney Toulouse, Elena, muchísimas gracias por todo lo que haces. Elena, she is like my right-hand woman. I could not take a step without Elena being there with me. Thank you so much. Tú eres la razón que estoy haciendo esto, amiga. Gracias. She's my coworker. She has been helping me move the El Zócalo initiative forward. To my wonderful boss, Mary Sutton, and our managing director, Dean Glatton, and Rob Melrose, our artistic director, and all the other folks at the Alley, from the actors to production to development to marketing. Pues todos, muchísimas gracias to every one of you for making Cuentos y Charlas and my job so much fun. So much fun. I love coming to work and making this happen and connecting with you, my community. Y último, mi querida familia y amigos de YouTube and Facebook, thank you so much for always being there. And a big shout out to the El Zócalo Advisory Committee members. Thank you so much.
I'm going to use my co-host card here. This is off the script, but for folks watching this, we do have to thank Rob, Dean, Mary, the crew working here, Valdemar, because a few years ago, this would not have happened. The plane would not have come. Valdemar would not be here. We wouldn't be chatting right now. And Houston would be poor culturally. Instead, we're in this reality. Let's embrace it. We really want to thank them, and we can thank them by supporting art and teatro, supporting Valdemar's endeavors, thanking the LA Theater, and keeping in mind that they are taking our community from nuestros barrios, nuestras casas, to the whole nation, and that's fantastic. So mira, mano, se queman las pestañas haciendo todo esto, okay? Y practica y hace ensayos con puro corazón. So thank you, Valdemar.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Maro. Muchísimas gracias. Bueno, sin más, atraer a todos los participantes para poder hacer un saludo grandísimo y un adiós. A todos atraeros, por favor, si podemos. Les damos un aplauso grandísimo a cada uno, amigos, todos los panelistas. Laura, es un honor estar aquí en un Zoom contigo, amiga Laura Moreno, gracias. Y bueno, pues sin más, les damos el saludo y nos vemos a la otra Cuentos y Charlas. Adiós.
Thank you so much.
Bye, thank you.
Bye. Dale un share. Would it kill you to share it? Share it.